Welcome YouTube subscribers and viewers to my channel. Absolutely fantastic, just so wonderful to see you. Today my name is Philip O'Connor and I'm just sharing a few thoughts with my young people via my Wise Sayings playlist. Now of course you may share in the other playlist which I do have in case you find anything there which is useful, inspiring, uplifting, relevant and applicable to your life. Of course, just to remind you, there are the ministry works and sermons, and there's the inspirational and motivational side as well, and there's of course the academic side, the tutorials for students whatever level you are, secondary, postgrad or undergraduate study, doctoral, PhD students, masters, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to be posting something which hopefully will be relevant and applicable to you as well. But for today's playlist, I'm actually talking primarily to my youth, my young people, okay, in what I call my Wise Sayings section. Where did I get that from? Actually, I was at a school some years ago in London, and I think we're on parents consultation evening. And there's this girl who, as her parents came up to me, she said, Mommy, may I introduce you to Mr. O'Connor? He teaches us wise sayings. And it was really from there that really took off. And over the last 16, 20 years or so, my students know me as the educator who uses a lot of wise sayings. They're my philosophical sayings which, you know, seem to really take root in the lives of my students. So far I've been sharing on a few things, and primarily I've been looking at a few issues and pointers that I've written in the magazine of my institution, where I was actually sharing on my doctoral journey and encouraging my young people there. I shared on a few points. For example, I spoke about appreciating your background and using that as a catalyst for high achievement. I talked about choosing your friends carefully and being very much aware of your association and make sure they are nurturing and they're not toxic, and that they do not cause you to detour from your destiny or to actually move away from your purpose, but to choose friends who can lead you in the right direction. For birds of a feather they flock together. I spoke about setting personal goals and plans and developing a personal development plan for your life and how to set smart targets. All that I've spoken about. Also talked about taking control, seizing control of your life and making informed life choices. I spoke about respecting yourself, others, authority and property. And then in my previous video, I encourage you to see problems as challenges. I talk about a shift in paradigm and how you stop talking about life is boring and this is boring, and how you can develop strategies to have purpose for your life, because life is what you make it, okay? It doesn't matter what happened to you in life. What matters is how do you see life and how do you turn things around, and the things that have happened to you, how can you use them in a positive way to still achieve great things in spite of. That's what it's all about. Now, for today's session, I want to talk about a very important point and lesson that I learned from, believe it or not, my car. Okay, I like cars. Now, I learned this lesson from the satellite navigation system in my car. And the point is to set your destination before you start the journey and be flexible in the face of life's vicissitude. I say that again. Set your destination before you start the journey. And the interesting thing is, if you're going to go on a long journey, let's say you're of age where you can drive, or for the younger viewers, if your parents are going on a long journey and you particularly don't know where you're going, or you know but you want the sat-nav to choose a particular route for you, then of course before you start out, you will set the destination. You pull up your sat nav, and of course you punch in your postcode or street name or whatever as the case may be. And a few things you will do is to preview the route. If your sat nav has that capability to preview the route and just to have a look, and you have the option, and you can choose whether you take the fastest route, or you want one that has less traffic, you want one that has toll road, or you want whatever it is, you can choose. Okay, one that takes a long time, or a scenic view in the countryside, whatever. You can select all of that. Now, of course, some satellite navigation system can also give you the option of actually avoiding traffic altogether. All right, so you can actually check a box which says, do you override what the sat-nav tells you to do? So if the sat-nav comes up on traffic situation and alerts you of traffic situation on your journey, then of course you have the option of sticking to the preset destination, or you can tell the sat-nav to automatically divert you, or you can choose to divert on your own. Now, that being said, what's the point? It would not be particularly useful to set out not knowing where you're going on a journey, and then somewhere on the motorway you are fidgeting with your sat-nav trying to set it. That doesn't make sense. Neither does it make sense if you set out on a journey and someone says to you in the car, where are you going? I don't know. Yeah, I know, but which exit do you take on the motorway? I'm not sure. I mean, that really doesn't make sense. And the point I'm trying to make is, how oft do we live our lives in that way? Where are you going? And some young people, I don't know. Why are you in school? Why are you in university? Why are you in college? I don't know. School is boring. Can't be bothered. No, if that's the attitude, then you need to hear this word very importantly. You need to have a sense of direction. You need to have a sense of destination in mind. Where are you going? What's your final destination? You understand what I'm saying? You need to have that sense to punch in your sat-nav, metaphorically speaking. Where are you going in terms of your relationship? Where are you going in terms of your schooling? Where are you going in terms of hobbies and interests? Where are you going in terms of professional career and work? What are your plans? What are your goals? You need to have a destination in mind. Dr. Steven Covey in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People have one of the habits to set your destination before you start the journey. So you need to have an idea of where you're going, and his particular step is begin with the end in mind. One of the habits of seven habits of highly effective people. Begin with the end in mind. That's just another way of what I'm saying here. Set your destination before you start your journey. Don't be meandering around the place and not knowing where you're going. No. We need to really try. Most schools these days and institutions of higher learning do have a careers advisor, in-house careers advisor. You can get help from online and all of that kind of thing to help you with your destination, to have a goal, a vision, a purpose, and to try to make sure that you don't detour. You understand me? There are some times on your journey you have to detour, and that happened to me once. I was driving all the way to Keswick, and I've never been to Keswick before. And it was supposed to be maybe about a 6-7 hour journey. It took me 11 because the sat-nav keeps saying to me, there's traffic situation on your ahead. There's traffic situation on your route. And of course, I allowed the car to detour me instead of just choosing when to detour. Automatically keep moving me. And before long, you know, what should be a 7-8 hour journey took me 11 hours. But you know, that brings me to the next point, that even when you set your destination before you start the journey of life, or when you begin with the end in mind, you still have got to be flexible. You have got to be flexible. We cannot be too systematic and analytical and rigid to the point that we cannot change and make allowances in life. Because things will happen. Things will happen. I told you in a previous video how when I was doing my master's in 2011 thereabout, at the time of doing my thesis, my cousin sadly passed away. And if I hadn't organized myself and be flexible in what I was doing, I could never have gone through everything then with the funeral, going there, making a speech, etc., and doing all I had to do and still submit my dissertation on time. So, whatever you're going to move on to with your life. I'm strongly encouraging you today, young people, that you begin with the end in mind. In other words, set your destination before you start the journey. That will give you a sense of direction. It will give you a sense of purpose. It will help to keep you on track. And even if you have to take a detour, as someone said, detours are not denials. Okay, so you may have to take a detour, but you still know that your detour will lead to your destination, and that's the important thing. Now, sometimes I understand you may have to change your destinations. I'm aware of that. But of course, you should be mindful of the fact that if you have a destination set that this is what I want to do, okay, and of course there are sometimes when I do encourage my students, sometimes you need to have a plan B, plan C, plan A, whatever the case may be. All right, sometimes you may set out, I want to achieve this, but you should be flexible enough to know that sometimes things happen. The pandemic happens sometimes for health reasons, or otherwise you may have to change course. It could be that the plans you set for yourself, you may go on work experience, you may take a year at university, you start a course, and then later on you say, this is really not for me. And that's fine. That's fine. Most people change careers about, what, 3 times in their working lives. And sometimes situations like in the pandemic now can force people to reskill. They have to reskill themselves and move on to a new job. That's something that people just have to do. And it really is hard, it's painful. When I see, for example, you know, a pilot, you have to pay over £100,000 for training, and you have the bank loan to repay, and then, you know, you have to humble yourself and do delivery for the supermarket. And nothing is wrong with that. I'm just saying it's just the way that life sometimes happens. And life pushes us in circumstances. You have the bills to pay, the mortgage to pay, the groceries, and all those things to do. And the money is just not coming in from your final destination source. You've got to, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You see? And that's something I'm seeing coming out of people in this pandemic, that people have to sometimes step down a little bit. And one of my wise saying is that sometimes in life you have to stoop to conquer. You have to stoop to conquer. In order to achieve great things, sometimes you have to step back just a little bit. Humble yourself and do what you have to do that's necessary. The bills have got to be paid. The children have to be supported and nurtured. You see what I'm saying? So I just want to wish you well as you take on board this special word, this wise saying today. As Dr. Steven Covey puts it, begin with the end in mind. And as I would say, set your destination before you start your journey. The journey of life, your academic journey, your relational journey, your career, your professional, whatever the journey that you're going to start in your life is just a metaphor, a philosophical saying to say, have a goal, have a plan, have a destination. I wish you well. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a positive comment as I try to motivate, inspire, challenge, and encourage. My name is Dr. Philip O'Connor. Thanks for joining.